it poppin'.
Okay, welcome to episode 2 of Crime in the Coconut.
I am Ashley.
I'm Amanda.
And I have a small gift for you.
Oh, yes, I keep forgetting. So, Ashley brought a gift for me.
As a token of us starting our lovely podcast. Just so stupid, but... So, I thought it might be fun if we had coconuts to drink out
Oh
of.
my gosh, that's awesome.
And very sustainable of me, there's titanium, it just pops out. There's titanium straws.
Yes.
Do it. I struggled. They're like little party favorites. They're very, very stupid looking. Just like plastic
I'm
coconut.
gonna pour my little Vista Bay in here right now.
I'm gonna pour my water in here.
That's awesome.
I'm very excited.
Because on the art that I drew for our podcast, I'm sprinkling something into the coconut.
Yes.
So now we actually have coconuts.
It's very fitting, which, by the way, good job. Way to go. I've heard Amanda already. Which, by the way, go like that artwork, because Amanda is dope AF and did it all by her little lonesome self, and it's awesome. So, oh man, we forgot to plug our social media on the last episode. Damn. Anyway, we'll do that at the end of this one. But our social media handle on everything is @CrimeInTheCoconut. Right now, we're only on Instagram, but we also have a Gmail, and it is crimeinthecoconut@gmail.com.
I love that that's so unique that we don't have to put, like, anything
Oh
else.
my god, on everything. On Podbean, on iTunes. Didn't have to...
Like, no underscores or anything.
Nothing.
Crime in the Coconut, XX6969.
Oh my god, yes. I was very happy that we did not have to buy that or steal that from somebody.
I found my unopened can.
Oh man.
It's right there.
Now you don't have to get up for another one.
Yes.
So.
Excellent.
Yes. Well, now we can get started. So this is Amanda's turn. I'm going to be listening to her lovely episode.
So, I'll be going over the Club Kids. I don't know if you're familiar with them.
I am not, and I avoided looking it up because I wanted to be very surprised.
Okay, I didn't know if they were, but I guess they're pretty well known by, like, a lot of, like, I work with a lot of older people, so they, like, are familiar. It's, like, in the 80s and 90s.
Yeah, so I'm sure my older siblings are probably, like, right there with it.
So they're basically this, like, group of young individuals who mostly consisted of gay people, LGBT community, drag queens, things like that. Like, they were, like, the nightlife partiers and things like that. They did drugs, they went to clubs. When I first wanted to know who they were, I was like, I'll just watch this interview on...
Love a good interview.
I'll just watch an interview on them because I didn't feel like reading through the whole Wikipedia, because the Wikipedia was all about Michael Ligg, who is the murderer in question.
Ooh.
And I'm like, I want to get more background in the group as a whole before I'm, like, starting to dig into him. The group was actually very big. It consisted of, like, 20 plus people.
Damn.
But, like, RuPaul was actually one of them.
Girl, stop. I'm so excited.
But RuPaul wasn't, like, a big part of it. He was just on the interview.
It's just very interesting that he is connected in some way.
Yeah, I was shocked when they were like, oh, and
like, how is this not more known if RuPaul is...
Well, he wasn't, like, big during the time.
Yeah.
So when they were interviewing everybody, they're, like, going down the line, they're like, RuPaul, what do you think? And I was like, excuse me?
What do you mean, RuPaul? Did I hear you right?
Excuse me? But, I never watched RuPaul's Drag Race.
But everybody knows who RuPaul is.
Yeah. So basically, this talk show was really popular. It was called Geraldo. And it was this, like, porn stash looking guy.
Yes.
Basically, like, judgmental piece of shit. It was, like, the not good version of Ellen, basically.
The not good version of Ellen. So everything that isn't Ellen, basically.
I mean, Ellen's a little dicey now, but...
Yeah.
It's not, like, bad. You can watch the interview on YouTube. If you just look up Geraldo Club Kids, it'll come up. It was done in the 1990s. There were quite a few people on stage, probably about, like, 7 to 10. This guy, Michael Ligg, he was, like, basically the ringleader of them. Like, he did his makeup in a very strange way. Like, he painted, like, an Abby, Ann, and Andy, like, nose on his face.
I'm gonna need to look that up.
And had these, like, big rosy circles on his face.
So, like, Pogo the Clown, the original.
And he, like, it would shave his head and certain, like, it was, like, a very different form of fashion, because, you know, everyone else kind of had, like, their signature thing, and I guess that was his signature thing.
Yeah.
And he was really, like, bratty, but, I mean...
Ooh, I don't like it. I don't like it.
Yeah, that's the one. That's it from the interview.
Ugh.
I know. It was not good.
Honey.
And he would brag about his ability to throw a party anywhere via word of mouth. Like, when Geraldo was like, so what do? You just, like, take over a Burger King? He goes, well, I wouldn't say take over, but I'll tell everybody, hey, we're having a party at Burger King at midnight, and then 1 million people will show up just because I told them to.
Sure.
And I'm like, okay. I mean, I obviously wasn't there, so. But, like, this guy Geraldo was, like, making countless disrespectful jokes about the nightlife and the drag scene. The people on stage were very serious about the questions they were being asked. Like, they were trying to inform the public of, like, they're good people, basically.
Like, promote the goodness of the LGBTQ community.
But, like, everyone in the audience was just laughing at them.
Of course they were.
And it was awful. Like, every time I thought, like, okay, it can't get much worse than that, it just kept getting worse. So, he referred to a lot of people by the wrong pronouns, which I'm sure was a pretty common thing in the 90s because people weren't very aware about that. But one girl did a short interview, and he called her a night creature.
Oh, that's good.
And asked to explain her routine. So, it was, like, a video of her, like, going through her routine, like, they followed her with a camera or whatever. Mm-hmm. And when she said it cut to a clip of her studying at her desk, and she said it's not that difficult balancing school and work and going out. And then the audience laughed at her. And I'm like, why is that funny? Like,
That's not funny at all.
I'm like, so, like, what? You don't think she can go to school and party at the same time? Like, it was just... And you could tell she felt embarrassed. Like...
It's just uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Geraldo then gestured to everybody on stage, and there were some of them in the audience too, and said, we have a whole cast of in-peoples and wannabes. And the crowd laughed, but the people on stage did not. And RuPaul spoke up and said, you are born naked and the rest is drag. And then all the night people were like, oh yeah, like, fuck you, basically. And then tensions rose when Geraldo said that these people were spreading venereal diseases and needed full body condoms.
I'm sorry, that's not how venereal diseases work. And that's rude of you to assume.
Yeah.
Porn stash Geraldo.
Yeah, he probably has more venereal diseases than anybody in that room, to be honest. He was just being mean. He was just really being mean.
Rude.
And then the host called out Michael Legg, who was sitting on the end, and he said, he straight up was like, I'm not trying to call anybody out, but is it true that you gave ecstasy to your mother?
I'm sorry. Is that important?
and then Michael, like, was being all sassy and was like, I don't remember. And then Geraldo replied, yeah, when you were in high school, she told you gave her drugs, and then she told you she had known you were gay since you were 2. And then Michael replied, that wasn't me. Well, maybe. I forget a lot. And I think he was just being, like...
trying to avoid it, like, not give them what they wanted.
Yeah, I don't think it was true, but I think he was just, like... You can say what you want about me, but I don't care. Kind of like
it doesn't
attitude.
Matter to me.
Yeah, and that like kind of like encompassed his whole attitude. Like that was who he was as a person. So these are like just a few things that were so fucked up about the whole episode of the show. I had never seen or heard of Geraldo before, but it seemed pretty popular. He just constantly insulted these people, and like the audience kept laughing. You could tell that they were getting like really frustrated with the whole situation. Like. That was me, I just would have walked out. I'd been like, fuck you and your show, like, I don't owe you anything.
Yeah, hope you lose ratings, bye.
Yeah. So, in 1998, a journalist who was a part of the flamboyant scene and, like, wrote about the night, or the club kids, like, he was pretty close with them. His name is also Michael, so I'm going to call him Journalist Michael, but it's the same guy.
Okay.
He said that they were manipulators and exploiters, but thank God they were partiers. I don't think he really, like... enjoyed being around these people, but he did it because he could write articles on them and get money.
Exactly.
And, like, maybe he did kind of like some of the scene, but I'm sure he didn't agree with everything they did.
Right. They sound like they were a little bit over the top. But it is what it is.
And I don't think, like, all of them were over the top, but Michael, like, definitely was.
And because he was the front man, it just made the whole thing seem a little bit...
Yeah. And you could tell his ego was, like, inflated to the max, basically. Yeah. In 1994, this guy, Rudolph Giuliani, it's definitely Italian. Whatever. This guy was voted New York's new governor, and his whole pitch that got him voted for was that he said he was going to target the city's nightlife and, like, basically...
Of course.
Basically get rid of these people.
Like, sorry, you're New York.
Yeah.
You have to expect this.
You can tell a lot of these, like, posh people were like, yeah, get them out of here or whatever, so he was voted for. The club kids were disbanded after Michael Lake was arrested for killing and dismembering his roommate, Andre Melendez, who also went by Angel.
0 to 60.
Yeah.
Wow.
Who was also a club kid.
Okay. I was not ready for this.
So that's the whole point. Like, Michael like killed somebody. With another club kid named Freeze.
I
But
love these names.
yeah, I know. But Freeze, like, was more like an innocent bystander who just got caught up in it.
He was just there at the wrong time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was all Michael. Like, it was all him. And,
Could you imagine being killed by somebody with that? I'm not trying to make fun of him. The makeup is very frightening to me personally. It's a look. And I can't imagine having that look stare over me while I'm being cut up.
I'm sure he didn't look like that all the time.
Yeah.
Because this was in, like, a very private area. But, I'll get to that later, because, like, there's a point where I kind of feel bad for him, but this is the wrong time for me to say that.
This is the wrong time for me to feel bad for him.
Yeah.
That comes later.
So Michael Lake was seen as this bratty, ballsy kind of personality who was an icon and leader of the group. He was controlling and pushing just the right way, and, like, the whole night scene, like, loved him for it. Mm-hmm. There was a popular nightclub in New York called the Limelight, which they actually talk.
So perfect.
If you watch the Venture Brothers, there's a gay character named Shore Leave.
Yeah.
And he goes to take the boys to the Limelight, but it's a mall now.
Oh, yeah.
And I didn't, like, I watched the show before I did this article, and then I watched it after, and I was like, oh, shit.
Well, this makes sense now.
Like, I know what the Limelight is. So it was actually an old church that they turned into. And it's this, like, big Victorian-looking, like,
that's so perfect.
Gothic church that they turned into this club.
That would be amazing.
So I'm sure a lot of people didn't like that. Like, it's a little sacrilegious.
A little bit, but I mean...
So, Michael hosted, like, host parties there, and he was, like, a party promoter, so, like, he was really close with these people that own these clubs. And,
I mean, he could have a party at Burger King at midnight if you wanted. So.
Right. Right, so he hosted his own party at the Limelight that was, like, this bloodlust theme.
Oh.
With, like, dismembered body parts and everything.
I'm not gonna lie to you, I think I'd go to a party like that.
I mean, I would too. It's, like, it's cool, but it's not cool when you realize that, like, he killed somebody.
Yeah.
But this was, like, way before then.
Oh. Maybe subliminal messaging, though.
Yeah, perhaps. But he was, like, from this journalist... he said that Michael would also, like, pee on people and, like, in their drinks during these club shows and, like, do a bunch of drugs and everything. So he was just, like, he didn't... A little bit out there. He didn't really like them. So he's, like, it's, like, there's a point where it's too far.
Yeah.
And there's probably a lot that went on that not everyone knows about. But, you know, everyone loved it because that was the whole thing. It was, like, nothing's too much and you could be whatever you want it to be, basically.
Yeah.
And that was, like, his whole thing.
Yeah. He just pushed the envelope, I guess.
Yeah. So, in March 1996, Michael and his roommate, Freeze, were accused of murdering their fellow club kids member, Angel, over a debt dispute. So, Angel was a drug dealer, and he had approached... And, like, Angel was my favorite. Like, he looked so cool. He was this Hispanic guy. He was, like, chiseled, and he...
I need to look at that.
He was called Angel because he always wore these angel wings.
Oh, I love it.
And he had this, like, little, like, captain's cap that he would always wear, and he was shirtless with these angel wings.
Yes!
Like, and he was just... like a cool person.
Oh.
And,
Angel.
I can't say that for a fact. I didn't know him, but...
He just looked good.
Yeah.
He looked like a wholesome little
He looked
babe.
like he knew what he was doing.
Yeah.
And
I love him. I love him.
Well, there's older pictures of him where he doesn't look like that. Like the mohawk and everything.
I don't know.
That's
the
actually...
mohawk's pretty good.
So,
guys, if you've never seen pictures of these people, look it up because it's a treat.
It is a treat.
Aww.
So, basically, Angel dealt drugs to the Limelight, and the Limelight never paid him back for these drugs, and it was, like, thousands of dollars. So,
he didn't kill them.
Yeah, so, well, he went up to Michael and was like, hey, we're friends, you're friends with the Limelight people, I need you to go get my money for me.
Yeah.
And it broke out into this dispute. There's an interview from a couple years ago of Michael Lake, like, I don't know if he's still in prison or, like, he had just gotten out or something, but he was, like, kind of explaining how he did things, and he said that, like, in a lot of reports it says that, like, Michael hit him over the head with a hammer and then suffocated him with a pillow. Well, he says that, like, it was the stick end of the hammer, not the ball peen end of the hammer.
Why would you do that, though?
So I don't know if that was just him twisting the words to make it seem like I wasn't actually trying to kill him, but I feel like if you're swinging a hammer at somebody's head... You're
gonna do it with you're gonna hold the handle. Like, you're not gonna hold the ball peen end of a hammer.
Yeah, I'm gonna hit you with a stick. Just kidding. You know, after that happened, he had, put him in the bathtub with Drano. And, he sat there for quite a few days.
You can't tell me that that's not a little premeditated.
Yeah.
Or not even necessarily that they meant to kill him, but he had at some point thought about killing somebody for you to have the wherewithal to do something like that.
I'll get to that too.
Ooh, okay.
So the journalist was just hanging out. You know, journalist Michael was just hanging out on the street, whatever. Or they were like going to a party or whatever. And Michael approached him and said, "You don't think I killed Angel, do you?" Just like straight up asked him to his face.
Ballsy.
And I guess like Michael had been going around to everybody just saying he had killed Angel. Just telling everybody. And I don't know if that was like a tactic to try to like get a story. Or like either get a story or make it seem like everything was a rumor. That way he wouldn't get convicted of the murder.
Yeah.
Because at the same time, like you were saying on your last podcast, that like people like that weren't always given the right amount of justice in the legal system. Correct. So maybe he thought like, okay, well they're not going to care about us anyway, so I just might as well go around and tell everyone I did it.
Exactly.
Or so I don't know.
Exactly. No, yep, that makes sense.
So, and the journalist said, to which I thought, yes, I do. And he had explained that Michael had told so many people about it, it was almost like he wanted to be caught. A year later, Michael was sentenced and found guilty of Angel's murder. And then, like, the club kids basically disbanded because they didn't want to be associated with him and Angel's murder.
Don't blame them.
He was only convicted of manslaughter, though.
What?
And if I remember correctly, he only served 14 years. Oh, and after he put Angel's body in the bathtub with a Drano, he then dumped him in the Hudson River. And that's when they found Angel's body. Okay.
At least second-degree murder.
Yeah.
At least.
Like, if that was... even if it was an accident, like an accidental killing or whatever.
That's not manslaughter. Even if it's an accident.
If you're disposing of the body, like, that's straight up murder.
And he dismembered him, right?
I don't know if he... Yeah, he did dismember him.
Okay, so even if it was an accident, you defiled a corpse at that point. Mm-hmm. So, like, what? That's a charge in of itself.
So you put him in Drano, cut him up, shoved him in a bag, took a taxi to the Hudson River, and then
took an Uber with the body to
the
Hudson River.
He put the body in the trunk.
Okay, what kind of fucking taxi? I'm sorry.
Well, he had to be wrapped up in something. But...
yeah. Well, then again, I mean, this was the 80s and 90s. Maybe taxi drivers were just like, get it in the fucking trunk and let's fucking go.
If I was a taxi driver and I saw somebody possibly putting a body in my trunk, I'd be like, I'm not going to say anything until after they leave.
I think taxi drivers are still like one of the most dangerous jobs to have.
Oh, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree for sure. Being a club kid, like, basically, like, wasn't a thing anymore, but there were a small following of people that, like, practically worshipped Michael.
So, like, Manson style.
So, they still, like, consider themselves club kids. I think he kind of liked the attention. Like, he might say he might say that he regrets killing Angel, but he definitely likes the attention. Yeah. And he says that he doesn't approve of these people that, like, were waiting for him outside of the prison when he got out, and, like, this little, like, culty following. Yeah.
But it wasn't for the right reasons.
Yeah, but I feel like part of him... Like, when you're, like, narcissistic like that... Mm-hmm. You're gonna like any kind of attention you get, be it good or bad. Yeah. And you might feel a little guilty for it being bad attention, but
doesn't mean you don't like it.
Right. During that interview with Michael, like, after his conviction and, like, when he was a little older, so either he was right about to get out of prison or he was already out, it was kind of weird because he, like, talked like I'm talking to you. Like, he talked about it like he wasn't talking about himself doing it.
Almost like third person.
Yeah. Like, he would say I and me, but he just didn't seem remorseful, almost.
Acting as if it was a different Michael that did it.
So I don't know if maybe, like, he had gone through therapy and, like, had learned how to, like, cope or whatever, but it was very strange.
This whole fucking thing is strange.
He called what he had done scandalous.
It's a bit more than scandalous. Your makeup is scandalous.
Yeah.
Murder is not.
He casually stated that it was true that he had dumped Drano on his body.
Casually.
But it was almost like he just thought, like, they weren't his actions. And he blamed it all on drugs, which is why I'm thinking maybe he got charged for manslaughter. There was a movie in 2003 starring the kid from Home Alone, Colin, called Party Monster, and that's about Michael Ligg. But during the interview, Michael Ligg says that it puts a very sinister spin on everything. He's like, I didn't have a party while Angel's body was sitting in the tub. He's like, I didn't do all that. He's like, I was freaking out. He goes, he said that after they cut up Angel's body, they went, and Michael and Freeze went and bought as much heroin as they could and got high because we wanted to kill ourselves, and it gave us a sense that everything was going to be okay.
Yikes.
And then Michael said, quote, I'm going to do more and more heroin until I can get to the point where I can take care of this, or I die, and then you have 2 bodies to get rid of.
That is a lot to place on somebody that just watched you murder somebody and helped you dismember him.
Right. That kind of part makes me feel a little bad because, like, maybe he was on drugs and then he accidentally killed this guy and then just kept doing more drugs thinking it was going to get better.
And it sounds like he didn't really have a good sense of self to begin with.
Yeah.
Not excusing the actions, but I can't imagine living the kind of life that he had to live in order to feel okay about himself.
Yeah. Which is why I brought up the whole, like, the Geraldo interview, because they're basically made fun of all the time anyways.
Yeah.
So, and then, like, he didn't seem like he knew what he wanted to say, so I think he's kind of messed up in the head, because, like... Yeah.
Well, I would imagine.
He has, like, the stutter now, and I don't know if that's from, like, withdrawals or whatever, but, he just seems a little different, and,
Apparently murder changes you, ladies and gentlemen. Think about that before you cut up a body.
Michael is not legally allowed to contact Angel's family, and Angel's brother, during a 1996 interview, said that he trusted Michael with his brother through his tears. So Angel's family was very upset that Angel died, and they hate Michael now, so Michael's not allowed to contact them.
Wow. That's brave of them. It would be hard for me. I mean, I don't know what I would do in that situation. I've never had a family member killed, but it would be hard for me to not want to go after them and not want to harass them and berate them for what they did and make them know.
I think it's more of like they've accepted that Angel's dead, and they just don't want to be around it anymore. Yeah. Like, they don't want to associate themselves with Michael anymore. Yeah. Michael served almost 17 years in prison.
Still not enough, but alright.
When he was released from prison, there were a group of Club Kids fans who have been eagerly waiting for his release. He quickly got back onto his feet promoting parties in New York again because he knew all these people.
Yeah. Old habits die hard.
He actually has a YouTube channel now.
Goodness, we're plugging it.
Yeah. It's called Pew, P-E-E-E-W, ! And it's like this weird live talk show thing that he invites different guests to. I only watched one of them because they're kind of long and boring. But the one I watched, he was with this guy, and they're sitting in the park, and you can tell this guy was just really uncomfortable to be sitting next to him.
I mean, you're sitting next to a murderer.
And he, like, it kind of was okay, but it was just very awkward. Oof. And it was really cringy.
And you're like, I can't handle it. My body can't.
And Michael's just, like, talking. Like, you can tell literally everybody's thinking about the murder, but they're just talking around it.
Nobody's talking about the murder.
Like, Michael was talking about how he had, like, a hard time, like, finding a house and, like, things like that. And how he's, like, struggling with, like, homelessness and things like that. And I'm like... I wonder why. Maybe because you were in jail for 17 years for murdering somebody.
Right. Like, I feel bad for the life he had to live because he was a homosexual. But I do not feel bad for what he suffered at the hands of the murder that he did. Make that choice.
Yeah. But it's like almost like this weird fantasy channel of him acting like not every single person who sits and talks to him, like, isn't thinking about how he killed a man.
Yeah.
And on some level, I do feel a little bad for him. Like, even if he didn't do it on purpose, you can tell that he's trying to put the past behind him and move on. Because really, that's the only thing he can do, but it's not really working. And, I wouldn't feel very good if I knew that, like, maybe if we got a little bigger and he did listen to this podcast knowing that it was about him.
I would never want to... This is one of those situations where I feel like I would never want to make somebody feel bad about themselves. They killed somebody, but they're getting it enough from everybody else.
Right.
Like,
and,
yeah.
Yeah, and, like, on top of that, like, he listens to this podcast, and it's just two girls who are way younger than him. just making...
Saying, I don't like your makeup, Michael.
Yeah, just making fun of him.
Yeah.
So it's like, not only did I kill somebody, I'm dealing with that guilt. Now these two young girls are making fun of me.
Yeah. He's going to invite us to be on the YouTube channel.
You want to come see my pew? You're like, oh, okay.
Sure.
But, you know, maybe he is this narcissistic, manipulative person who's trying to make it seem not so bad. Or maybe he's gone through therapy to, like, learn how to talk about these things and cope, and maybe he is really trying. The journalist, Michael, says that he hates talking about how horrible Michael was because he thinks that it's a celebration and that Michael is just loving it.
Yeah.
He definitely isn't normal, but I'm not really sure how normal he was before that.
Yeah. And I have to imagine that dismembering a body permanently changes you, so...
And I feel like, even if it was all the drugs, like, what an awful place to be in. Like, you know when you just, like, keep sliding down the slippery slope and you can't stop? Mm-hmm. So if he was on drugs when him and Angel got into that dispute and, like, in this drug-induced frenzy killed him... Then you're freaking out because you're like, I don't want to go to jail for murder, so maybe I'll just dispose of the body. Yeah. Probably still high because he said he was high.
And then got high again.
He was on heroin. Yeah. I don't know how well people function when they're on heroin.
And I'm sure heroin was much different back then. It's not laced with fentanyl like it is now.
Yeah.
But...
So, dumping the body in the Hudson, he probably lived with all this guilt and just went around telling everybody, hey, I killed him, I killed him, I killed him. Yeah. Because he didn't seem like he was mad about going to prison or being convicted.
Yeah.
But he also didn't seem like he cared at all that Angel was dead.
Yeah, that's what kind of makes it hard for you to feel bad for somebody like that. Like, he wants to move on with it because he's still alive. Angel doesn't have to deal with it. I have to deal with it, and I don't want to have to deal with it anymore. Like, he just wanted to move past it. It's interesting, though, like... I mean, he talked about wanting to kill himself after it happened. So like you said, maybe he was super high on drugs. He didn't mean to kill him. The drugs were kind of what pushed him to do it. And I'm sure we'll talk more about this at another point, but I'm going to equate it to my sister, who a year ago tomorrow took her own life. And she was a drug addict. Very bad drug addict. Was very angry all the time. Mm. So she did kill someone while on drugs. It was herself.
Yeah.
So, you know, you hear that story and you think, oh my God, that's so terrible. Like, why would she take her own life? But then you hear of another drug addict pushed to the brink and killed someone else. Yeah. And you're like, that's a terrible thing. Why would you do that? So it's all perspective and circumstance.
And it, like, when you're high, on certain, different things, like, you don't care about yourself anymore. Nope. Like, and, like, there's a point where, like, recreational drugs, like weed and things like that, like, you can do them in a healthy way, but, like, I've been in a space where I've taken painkillers, I had a really bad alcohol addiction in college, and things like that. I didn't care. I was just, like, whatever. Like, I haven't taken a shower in 5 days. I don't care. Yep. So I feel like when people like that, if they're in that mindset where they hate themselves so much and they're to the point where they want to kill themselves or kill someone else, they just don't care. Yeah. There's no consequence to it.
And don't get us wrong, we're not excusing the murder, dismemberment of Angel, but this is a conversation that should be had. Like, this is an underlying thing, and it does probably explain quite a bit of what happened and why he probably acts the way that he acts today. Yeah.
But I wonder, like, what else happened, because, like, obviously, like, the police were not very involved in this whole thing.
It is what it is. That section of humanity, though it is just as equal as the other section, has not until recently, and maybe even not recently as much as it should be, been treated equal when it comes to things like this. So it kind of gets brushed under the rug.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah. R.I.P. Angel. You were a cutie, and now you're a real angel.
Yeah. That was wholesome.
That was wild. I'm going to need to watch this Geraldo thing, because I need to experience that porn stash.
Oh my gosh, it pissed me off. Every time I watch it, I'm just like, God, this man,
fuels my hate fire.
I want to punch him in the face.
Yeah. Snaps for Amanda, ladies and gentlemen. We'll give you a minute. Give her some snaps.
All right. I think that's good enough.
I do. I think it's good. I agree. So I'll plug the social media again. It is at Crime in the Coconut. We're on Instagram right now, and then crimeinthecoconut@gmail.com if you want to give us feedback or maybe share story suggestions. Since we're just getting started, anything and everything. If you want to see us on other social media, like if you want to see us on Twitter or something like that, let us know. And thanks for coming to week 2.
All right, bye.
Peace out, Girl Scouts.